Hey guys, welcome to Horology Biology. Now on this channel, I like to restore vintage watches back to their former glory. I like challenges, and this is exactly what I'm going to be doing with this 1960s Omega Flightmaster Mark I. Now I picked this up quite a few months ago actually because I've been busy. I've been able to do videos, and I've been receiving your emails. I've been receiving the complaints. I heard, and here I am. Anyway, this is the Omega Flightmaster Mark I with the 910 caliber inside. Really, really beautiful watch, very sought after, and I want to make this look tippity-top back into super nice condition from what it actually looks like, as you can see on the screen. The hands are all messed up, they're faded, the case is all mashed, the movement's running, happy about that. So what am I going to do? I'm going to strip this down as I always do. I'm going to have a tackle at restoring the case. I'm going to relume the watch. I'm going to repaint all of the crowns and basically just bring it up to a really nice looking standard. So this watch was originally advertised as running, but it did say that it had an issue with the chronograph. It said it wouldn't reset properly. So I thought, okay, maybe it's just something that needs a service. I actually discovered what it was, and it took me quite some time to work it out. And sometimes it really can be the most simplest of things that you can actually find. Basically, long story short with this, somebody had used the wrong screw for the switch. And because it was the wrong screw, and it was not a shouldered screw, it would not reset perfectly. And maybe I should have checked that first, but I just thought, no, it's not going to be that. And in the end, it really was as simple as that. So I was really happy about that. Ordered myself a new screw because I didn't have any, obviously. And that solved that problem straight away. So once I'd done that, I obviously knew I can tackle this watch now and I can restore it. So as you can see, I have taken the movement out of the case. I'm removing those hands, and those hands are in really not nice condition. You can see how they're, I mean, completely original hands, but you can see how they faded so much. But look at the dial, guys. That dial actually does look really nice. It's got that nice patina on it. Now the lume shot, you could see that. So I'm going to remove that as well. I'm going to relume it. I'm going to match it as best as I can so it looks period correct. But first, of course, got to remove that dial and see what's underneath. Now, you might have noticed that this video is actually quite short. It's about 15-16 minutes long. And unfortunately, I lost some of the footage for this video. I spent a hell of a lot of time recording this, and sadly, some of it actually came out corrupted. I've got a lot of footage, and I've compiled as much as I can in regards to the case restoration, etc. So I'll talk you guys through it. And don't worry, at the end of the video, I did take a lot of new videos of the watch as it currently is a few months later, after I've worn it for a few months. So you can see exactly how it looks compared to how it looked when I first purchased it. And I'm sure you'll agree, looks mad fresh. So the dial's off, and now I want to tackle this case. Now on this case, you've got the two pushes that need to be removed. So they pop out with those two screws, and then you're going to need to use a special tool to unscrew the pusher mounts. I'm using this Horotech tool, ridiculously overpriced for what it is, but it does the job, and it's going to last a lifetime, so why not? Removing the top and the bottom one, and then, of course, you're left with 3 crown tubes. Now, they need to be removed as well, and obviously I need to remove the crystal. Now, the crystal was an absolute nightmare. It's mineral crystal, and of course, I was expecting it was going to break because it's all sealed in, and the gaskets are probably melted as well. So there's no way around it. It's going to break. A lot of glass, as you can see, but you can see here how it literally was stuck to the gasket. The problem with this is I have to be so careful in regards to removing this because you have that internal bezel underneath, which is black. And of course, it's got the numbers on. And the last thing I want to do is obviously damage that. So once the glass has been shaken out of this and I've blown out as much as I can, I'm now using some pegwood. I'm carefully removing this old gunk, this black tar, as you can see on the paper, from this before I can push out the rest of the bezel. I got it out. And the condition's not amazing, but I do believe that I can clean that up. When I removed the gear, of course, as well, that snapped as well and broke. Now, thankfully, yours truly has got quite a few for Enica models, and the principle is exactly the same. I had to do a small modification to making sure the thread fit the crown, which was a bit fiddly and a bit of a pain in the ass, but it worked in the end, and the principle of it's, like I said, the same. It's just a star gear, so it works. So now that the crown tubes are out, everything's been removed, I can basically tackle the movement. Just for reference as well, 2 of the crown tubes came out perfectly fine. The main center one was an absolute nightmare because it's so long. So when I ordered a brand new original mineral crystal for the watch, I also ordered a new crown tube as well from the US because I was going to need one anyway. I knew it wasn't going to come out successful, which it didn't. And obviously now we can move on to stripping down the watch. So working on the dial side, I'm removing all of the mechanisms, as you can see. And as you can see, it's a different day because you're going to also see me wearing various different outfits during this video because it took a long time. And that's why I'm a little bit irritated. I'm super stressed about it, guys, that a lot of the footage actually got corrupted, which is, yeah, sad. But unfortunately, it's how it works in video sometimes. I'm not the first one it's happened to. So, yeah. So also as well, I wanted to say thanks to all the subscribers as well, guys. I noticed that this channel is now over 30,000 subscribers, which is not normal. Can't believe it. Over 30,000 subscribers. And I've not even been turning out that many videos. It's like I've become self-sufficient, which I'm not going to complain about. No, sir, I'm not. I hope you've all been well, of course, as well. I've enjoyed reading your emails. If I've not replied to everybody, don't take offense. I do get quite a few, and also sometimes I also forget to reply. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I do. Sometimes it takes me a while, so hang in there. So everything's been removed from the dial side of the watch, and now I can tackle the other side. Now, first thing that I'm doing is I am removing these tension springs from the watch. And with this particular movement, I'm removing these springs in this area because I want to get to the click spring so that I can lower the power reserve out of this watch because it is running, as we can see, which is a really good sign. I mean, it's going to be cheaper to fix than if it wasn't, thankfully. And there you go. Using a screwdriver, I'm just going to move that click out of the way and then just feed the crown through my finger and thumb and just let that power out before I remove the balance. And it's a bit of a weird one, as you can see. You see all those scratches on top of the balance cock? Mad strange. Not exactly sure what happened there, but yeah, it is what it is. So removing the coupling, or trying to at least. It's always a weird one, this one, comparing it to like a Valjoux 72, whereas the eccentric screw is part of it rather than actually being fixed to the movement. So yeah. And the other thing as well, which I was happy to see with this watch is, this movement is no real rust or anything like that, just quite a lot of over oiling. So as you can see, I keep dabbing it up with Rodico, and I'd rather something be completely over oiled and saturated because the more oil, the less rust. And yeah, it's messy, but I can deal with that. And I'd rather deal with that any day than something really dry and super corroded and rusted because, yeah, that's a bigger nightmare. So yeah, give me a super oily, disgusting watch any day over something that's dry and crusted and rusted up. Not cool, man. Not cool at all. So guys, if you want your chance as well to win a 1960s Roma Stingray, all you got to do is subscribe to my channel, like this video and subscribe to the channel, and you're basically in with a shot of winning one of those watches worth around $2,000. I am giving that away when we hit 100,000 subscribers. And this channel is nicely growing at a steady rate. I'm not bothered about it hitting that in the next few months or whatever. I don't care personally how long it takes. I prefer sustainability rather than just quick pumps. I think this is just better. It's more organic. And yeah, so really simple. If you want to help me out, subscribe to the channel. And like I said, you're in with a shot of winning that fully serviced watch, which I actually made a video on as well. So you can see it fully serviced. And that actually could be something that you could win and add to your own personal collection. So just remove the escape wheel. And then I'm actually just removing that little tiny click spring as well. Out goes the crown. And then I can take off this massive train of wheels bridge stroke barrel bridge, if you want to call it, because it's just a huge plate which is controlling everything on this whole movement. Pretty much the same as the 861 now when you start breaking it down. Removing the train of wheels, and then underneath, of course, you can see we've got the ratchet wheel, which is on top of the barrel, and things look good. Really, really happy with what I'm seeing. With this watch, it's more about the condition of the case. It's the cosmetics with this watch which drew me in. I was like, yeah, I want to make this look nice. This is something that I'm going to probably keep for a while. I'm definitely going to sell it at one point. It's not my first Flightmaster that I've had, and I know that they hold really good value and obviously worth a lot more than what I paid for it once I finished for it. And at the end of the day, that's very important when you're dealing with vintage watches. So once everything has been removed, we flip it back over now, and now I can just remove the yoke spring. I'm pegging out all of the jewels before it goes into the cleaning machine. I'm popping back on the balance, which is something you should always do. It's the easiest place to keep your balance when you want to clean it. And then getting all that ready so I can just pop it into the cleaning machine. So just removing the click and the crown wheel and the crown wheel core from underneath the bridge. And then, of course, we can take out the main spring, the arbor, and give that a good clean as well. And as you can see, the bridle broke on the end of this one. I think that must have broke when I took it out because it clearly wound before, unless it was jammed and I got away with it. I don't know. So now the movement's all basically being put aside. Let's crack on with the casework. The first thing I'm going to do is tackle these pushers. Now, as you saw, the pushers and the crowns all are supposed to have paint on them, and they were all missing because they'd worn away, obviously, after years of use. And these are damn expensive if you want to buy these. And I was like, hell no, I'm doing that. I'm going to do this myself. This is what I do. So what I decided to do was use some enamel paints. I matched up the colors as best as I could to the originals, which is red and yellow and blue and black. And I thought, I'll paint these on. It's got a dip on there so I can put the paint in. I can then sand it over and polish up the pusher, which will remove the excess paint. And then I can just protect it by adding some varnish or lacquer, as some people say. I used a matte one just to protect the paint. So obviously it's not going to wear off when I'm using it, which is exactly what you can see what I did here. And I was happy with the results. Came out pretty good. Now, the next thing I needed to do here as well was airbrush the ring, which went around the bezel, the inner bezel, because that had worn away a lot. I also did that as well, completely in black. Again, very simple, matte black. Very happy with it came out. The hands, same principle. I made sure that I used a white undercoat on all of these hands, and then I would paint them in orange and their respected colors. And I was really happy with the results, as you're going to see later on. So this is, of course, where I did start losing some of the footage. So I'm talking through it a little bit quicker now, obviously, with the painting of the hands, etc. Now for the case, I'm using my lapping machine. Really, really important piece of equipment. Damn expensive, but worth it, because what you can do, I mean, it's just amazing. I absolutely love it. The only thing that I'm kind of missing now, which is something I'm really, really toying with actually purchasing next, is going to be a micro laser welder. That's something that I am definitely interested in get one. I have a micro like TIG welder for very, very small little welds, but it's not the same. So first, of course, what I want to do now is I want to shape this case, because this case has a really nice distinctive brushed finish, sunburst brush finish to the front of it, also on the sides as well with polished underneath. And now that I shaped that case, now using the belt sander, using the same table size, I can now put on this sunburst effect, which is exactly what I'm doing here. The principle of it is actually not that difficult. It's just something that takes practice. And I'm really happy with how I've been building this up, especially over the last few months, to the level that I've got. And I'm really happy with how it's coming out. Like I said, for me, the only difference now is that I really do want to get hold of one of these micro welders. But then we fall into this category of, okay, you're going to make something look brand new over not as new. And that's something that we can discuss, obviously, because a lot of people are starting to discuss this in vintage watches. When a case is fully restored back to like near not perfect condition, are you telling the person that it's been restored or not? Because it's hard to know, actually, because it actually looks as if it's never been touched. So yeah, I'm curious about what you guys think about this one. I've had a few people talk to me about this. So yeah, where's the fine line on that one, guys? So I worked on the case, and now I'm obviously doing the case back as well. Now the case back, this one was really difficult in regards to the center of it, because the Flightmaster logo was quite thin. So I literally just did a small brush over that one because I did not want to lose any of the text. And for the sides of it, as you can see, it does have a brushed finish. So first I would shape it, and then using a different sandpaper, I would basically bring it back up so that I could get that full brushing effect on it. And I'm really, really happy with how the case was going on. So not the easiest case to restore, but I'm pretty happy with how this one came out. Not perfect, but considering how it looked, you guys tell me what you think. So there we have it, the Omega Flightmaster Mark I, reference 145-013, with the caliber 9010 inside. An iconic watch. Very, very happy with how this one has been brought back up into a presentable standard for today's market. I'm sure you'll agree. Guys, as always, take care of yourselves. There's 2 more videos on the screen right now. If you've got nothing else to do and you want to binge a little bit more, hit a like on this video, and I will, of course, catch you in the next one.